Hello and welcome to the Sonic Cinema Podcast. My name is Brian Scuttle. Thank you for joining me at www.sonic-cinema.com as well as the Sonic Cinema Podcast YouTube channel. Click subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, basically wherever you listen to podcasts, chances are we're going to be there. You can also check us out at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. There you will see older new watches, including a few words on the films that we are talking about today. Leaving the collection whenever I get that back on track. Life soundtrack whenever I get that back on track. The Oscar nominations are coming out soon. That will be an interesting discussion. That is all at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. Welcome to 2026. I'm not sure if I mean that is a positive thing or a sign that the end of the world is coming upon us, which, you know, I guess I have to hand it to his orangeness in the Oval Office for kickstarting the year in a way that might make this discussion a bit more prescient than I was hoping it would be, but it's going to be a lot of fun anyway. We are going to be diving into Christian cinema. Now, we have done this in the past. We've talked about Dogma. We've talked about Martin Scorsese's Faith trilogy. We've talked about The Passion of the Christ. We've talked about a bunch of other faith-based movies. Here, we're going to be talking about movies that are not quite on those levels. We're looking more towards the Omega Code, which my guest and I previously discussed, as well as when we discussed Dogma. My guest is a return guest. We actually just talked about faith when it comes to politics and power in my fascism and cinema discussion last year. And today we are going to be talking about cinematic depictions of the Rapture. And joining me to discuss that is the one, the only host of Snarky Faith, Stuart Delony. Stuart, thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, love being here, Brian. I think we're going to have some fun because this is like the bargain basement of cinema that we're going into here.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Let's cut back to 7 years ago, closer to 8 years ago. That was when I first was on Snarky Faith with you, and we talked about Christian cinema. We talked about what makes it pretty terrible when it comes to focusing more on the message than the filmmaking. Mm-hmm. And we coupled that with a discussion on Passion of the Christ. The next year I had you on, we talked about Dogma in the Omega Code in my Class of 1999 series. And like I said, you joined me last year and we talked about faith when it comes to abuses and power, when it comes to the Passion of Joan of Arc, Life of Brian, and what was the third one? There Will Be Blood. Mm-hmm. So the reason we chose this topic is you have a book coming out. Sure. Do you want to tell us about it?
Absolutely. And since we're diving into talking about the Rapture, my book is it is a end times manual. So it's written as if you have been left behind, which we'll be talking about today. So somehow that you have been left behind, you are essentially spiritually fucked. And this is a manual for how to survive in this hellscape that we're living in now. So it sounds like this, but it's satire, and it's really just kind of roasting a lot of where we're at in culture today. It's like pointing a mirror to absurdity, and the mirror to absurdity to Christianity, to power dynamics, to authoritarianism, and all the other kind of stuff. But it's just read as a manual, as if you kind of let all of these Christian ideas of the end times to their logical conclusions. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I am looking forward to reading this. This is going to be a lot of fun. It does come out on January 13th, and I will make sure to put a link in the episode notes, as well as the link as it appears on Sonic Cinema. You know, and I would look, the fact of the matter is, I did not want to be doing this series. I did not want to be doing this episode 3 days after we illegally removed the dictator of Venezuela in a military operation, and it seems like we might be attacking Greenland, which is something that he's somehow talked about before.
Yeah.
I did not want to be talking about this. I wanted to have fun, and I think we're still going to have fun because the movies that we were talking about, they take us places.
Oh, they do.
But before we get into the movies, which I figure we just touch in chronological order like we do typically here on Sonic Cinema. So and it's funny because one of these was made in 1972. And I will be honest, I did not, when I looked up on Google what Rapture movies we could possibly talk about, I saw one in 72 and I'm like, wait, what? Because for me, on the outside, the Rapture feels like something fairly new in Christianity, or at least evangelical Christianity. This idea of being the second coming of Christ, and people and the faithful are taken up into heaven, and the rest of us heathens are left behind to suffer and 7 years of torment on earth during the tribulations.
Yes.
And so I'm curious because of the fact that I know about millenarian sects of faith over the years. Where did the modern idea of the rapture come from?
This is what's insane. This is what's insane. That most people in most churches don't understand this. That this comes from a dude named John Nelson Darby in the mid 1800s. And so the guy he's educated, but he has no theological, no Bible training. And anytime he's involved in some sort of a faith community, it ends up in a split because he's just an asshole. And so what Darby does, he tries to look at the Bible from almost an engineering standpoint and try to mesh all of these things together and cut things up and make them make some sort of sense. But he doesn't know what he's doing. And it's not even a good reading of Scripture. But regardless, this somehow takes hold because I think we like escapism in life, right? And this is religious escapism at its best. Or we're all we're the good ones. We get taken away. Oh, then that's so much nicer. All the people I don't like are gonna burn. Makes me feel tingly. But yeah.
That is wild. The fact of the matter is, it's funny because of the fact that I just watched a movie that's coming out this week in Atlanta, The Testament of Ann Lee, with Amanda Seyfried. And Ann Lee is one of the founders of the Shaker movement. And so, in a way, there's a little bit of millenarian thought in terms of second coming of Christ, but it certainly does not get to an apocalyptic notion of Scripture, which I feel like, am I right in thinking that this comes from some pretty liberal, not politically, but liberal in terms of really taken with a grain of salt readings of Revelations?
Yeah, Revelations, Book of Daniel, and some other sprinkled ones in there. Yes, you are 100% right about that. The way I've read this as a person who has been through seminary, the Book of Revelation really is it's an apocalyptic book that is written against the powers of the time. And so, back in this time period, which no one thinks about, apocalyptic writing was a way to kind of give a middle finger to the empire, but it was coded language. And so this is all about the fall of Rome. And that's what most of this is about, the fall of Rome or the fall of the temple as well, too. And that's what it's about. It's done. It's over. That was the end of the story. But once you start talking about dragons and stuff, that gets sexy. It's like X-Files. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying is the Book of Revelations is essentially the first QAnon, where it's people have to bake
the way they took it,
bake their ideas into what they're reading.
That is absolutely true. Yes, because all this is adjacent. Like, you're right. Like, QAnon. I thought about that earlier. Like, it does feel a lot like Q. We know how it's going to end. There's going to be one world government. Ooh, and there's the elite that run things and everything else like that. Gosh.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because of the fact that, I mean, and we'll get to it when we talk about some of these movies, is that idea of, and I think that's kind of what made me think this was probably more recent than I realized. The idea of one world government, which, conspiracy theorists consider the New World Order, which is basic anti-Semitic coded, coding for, the Jews run everything, goes back to the protocols of the elders of Zion and all of that. And, I mean, you see it all through. And the fact of the matter is, it's like, unfortunately, we're not done with this type of discussion either. And, I mean, it feels like, it's funny because of the fact that, to a certain extent, also sort of feels like it's come into leftist circles as well with the recent war in Gaza after October 7th.
Yep.
And basically where, so many people have been talking about, America's got to divest from Israel and we have to, AIPAC is ruining everything in politics, and it's basically just coded Rothschild, George Soros all over again. It's basically very anti-Semitic, and if you pay attention, you know that Christian Zionism is arguably more powerful in American politics than AIPAC is. And that's, look, the fact of the matter is that's where this whole idea, I mean, look at who our current ambassador to Israel is. It's none other than Mike Huckabee. And, what is Trump doing his first term as president? He moves the embassy to Jerusalem, which is another catering to Christian nationalism and Christian Zionism. And, the fact of the matter is, it's like that. I think that's that's where I kind of got the idea that this was more recent than it really is, because of the fact that so much of it, and it gets into it with, especially the Left Behind movies, which we will talk about the first one here, soon when we get to it. And it's just this idea that there's a war in the Middle East. Israel plays a huge part in it, and it's one of those things where we're getting this idea that Israel is important not because of the fact that the Jewish people need a homeland after the horrors of the Holocaust, but they need to be there for the second coming of Christ and the rapture to occur. Yeah. And it's like, this is where I think this discussion, and and your book are going to be really, I hope we're really enlightening with this discussion, and I hope we're really just have fun with this idea, because on the surface it's an absurd idea. I mean, it really is.
Absolutely. No, you're right. This whole thing's an absurd idea, and you do make a fantastic point, Brian. I do think, because also you mentioned like this idea of like Zionism. Darby was one of the people that like was reading things very literally in that time too, and so he's again one of those kind of that helped push on this idea of Zionism. Even though that was like 1800s, what ended up happening, I think it's more like that took effect with the religious right, which is probably closer to the 70s, which takes us a thief in the night, which becomes kind of the moral majority and everything else that we have nowadays. So I think it was Darby started it. It took time, and with like Jerry Falwell Jr. and all those folks in the 70s, they were just looking for some sort of reason to, they were looking for things that they could find a culture war over. Yeah. And they were finally looking for that crutch they could push into something, and they would try things and it wouldn't work. They would try other things and then it would. But that leads us to the modern Christian right movement, Christian nationalism, and QAnon's adjacent to all this crazy stuff too.
Oh yeah, and it's just as anti-Semitic as all of it.
Oh, yeah.
So we will go ahead and start in with the movies, and we're going to start with the earliest one. I've already hinted at this one. You've already name-checked it. It's 1972's A Thief in the Night. I don't even remember who directed it. It's 69 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's not a particularly well-made movie. So it's mercifully 69 minutes. I'm grateful for. I was grateful for that when I saw that. So this movie, it's funny because of the fact that this movie starts out with a woman waking up at the middle of the night and a radio is going, basically implying that the rapture has happened. Yep. And then we do a flashback to where she first meets her husband, and we start to get some idea of the religious tenor of the time. And he is devout, she is not. So we double back to that sequence where she wakes up, and only to find that he has been raptured and she is still on earth. Mm-hmm. And from there, and it's funny because of the fact that one of the notes I wrote was, wait, did Left Behind rip this off? Because there's a lot of this story that is very familiar in terms of Left Behind, because of the fact that it then gets to this idea where those who are left behind, there's a creation of a one-world government, which, again, goes back to New World Order conspiracy theories. And she finds herself on the run from this organization, which is known as Unite. And, really making right away the fact that evangelical Christianity kind of looks at the idea of unity and diversity in the world as not really a good thing. And then it's funny because of the fact that it gets to a really bleak ending, and then we see her wake up again, and it's like, wait, but was this all a dream or that we just watched? What's going on? So, had you heard about this movie before, or had you seen it before?
Yes. Okay, so yes, and so one thing we may need to establish some of what these people actually believe, because they aren't copying. They're copying this whole. The Thief in the Night plays out basically the same in many ways as Left Behind, because this is like a religious trope. The way that they think the world is going to end, and so there's several different ways that they look at that's going to happen. So, and we'll see this in all the films. So there's usually a pre-tribulation rapture. So that means a tribulation is when all hell breaks loose because God's mad on earth. And so if you're a good one, you go to heaven. You miss the tribulation time, which is 7 years of bad stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a rise of an Antichrist. Then there's the saints that are left behind. Those that are still trying to do what they need to do. There's eventually a mark of the beast. There's then a second coming when Jesus comes back, and he's basically Rambo, which has nothing to do with anything that Jesus ever said before, but he comes back and kicks ass. And then there's the grand separation of the sheep from the goats. The goats go to hell. So they're all operating off of this whole mindset of this is how the way things end. And Thief in the Night, you asked me, the original question was, had I seen it before? Yes. For folks that have been raised around church, especially in evangelical circles, this was nightmare fuel to folks.
Oh my God.
Because this is they made this, at least when I was looking into this, they made this to traumatize children on purpose.
I believe that.
Yes, and so this was for youth groups. This was let's come watch this movie, let's do this, and we're just going to scare the hell out of you, and then you're going to pray to prayer, and then yay, we did something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
No, and it's funny because of the fact that on the surface, this almost feels and this is where I think the 70s are really. The fact that this is set in the 70s, I think, is really weird, because on the surface, in the beginning of this, as we start to see this woman's journey, there's a very hippie vibe to the characters.
Yeah.
And so you almost, and I feel to a certain extent, you've already mentioned Falwell, and certainly the religious right is starting to get back into politics at this time, not just because of Roe v. Wade, but because of segregation, the fact that, hey, we can't have our schools be segregated anymore, and we need to put an end to that right now.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, it feels very hippie. It feels very loose. It feels very hippie. It's like these characters left Woodstock, and all of a sudden they're in, I can't imagine what Woodstock had to have been for the people who made this movie, because of the fact that had to be sort of the apocalypse because of the rock and roll, because of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all of that stuff. I can't imagine what that was like, but it's like, one of the funniest things is there is sort of a sermon and preacher at the beginning, and they've got the music behind the music background to them, and there's a time where the preacher says something, and there's a drum hit, like it's a punchline. Like, what are we doing here, folks?
Oh,
this is seriously, we're doing this, but it's just bananas. And
bananas is a great word.
Yeah. This movie was a lot to really kind of take in.
No, it is, and it's one of those ones too, and especially the song that I wish we'd all been ready. Like they just keep repeating this song in like bits over and over again, and the song is so sadistic. Like it's like life was filled with guns and war, and everyone trampled to the floor, and then it just is moving down to this. I wish I'd been ready. So it just goes back to the fact of we have to somehow be in the state of anxiety unless we know where we're going when the end happens. And so this is all just about anxiety and panic, which is apocalyptic because it's a form of control too, that they're trying to do on kids. Yes.
No, I mean, and the fact of the matter is, it's like, no, that is, the idea that this being used as nightmare fuel doesn't surprise me, because I mean, let's face it. I mean, we've talked about it before. I am not specifically religious. I consider myself spiritual, but not religious. But I know enough of how, especially conservative Christianity works, where hell is very much used as a punishment. It's the boogeyman, essentially. It's like, if you're not good, you go to hell. And I mean, so the idea that this was nightmare fuel, it's like, first of all, it's disarmingly scary because of the fact that there's so much pedestrian filmmaking in there. It's not exactly The Exorcist we're watching here.
No.
Like, it's not scary in the sense that, there's traditional jump scares in this movie, except maybe the snake bite that the one man gets. The snake bite, that's just the funniest thing in the movie.
It's so stupid. It is so stupid. It's the dumbest plot device I've ever seen. And it was just, we need a character to somehow get bit by a king cobra. Yes, because he leaves the cage open. And I think that just leads us into an arena where we somehow need to talk about but you needed a transfusion, Johnny. Can't remember what his name, if it was Johnny or not. But just like Jesus shed his blood for you. But even all of this stuff, I just love the 70s of this, because it was like the doctor's like, we don't know if he's going to live because we don't have any more horse serum. And I was like, what are you talking about, horse serum? This is insane. And then they have to fly in a dude that has been bit by a cobra enough times.
I was just about to get to that. It's like, what are we doing here?
That was, it drew us in, though. We cared about their story with the cobra.
Yeah, it's just, and it's funny because of the fact that when they finally get married, it's all done still images. It's not even done in a traditional montage. It's like, we didn't have enough money, but we're at least gonna show, images of what their marriage is like before this big event happens. This score is something else. I've heard a lot of really crazy scores over time.
Yep.
This real, and it's funny because of the fact that I messaged you about the Left Behind one, but that's just traditionally goofy.
Yeah.
This one is just what the hell am I listening to? Like, how is this? How does this work in any way, shape, or form?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But this one, somehow, like, I don't even know what distribution was like on this film, because I will guarantee you, like, so many churches owned a copy of this. Like, if we, like, think back in the 80s, like, you remember from, like, school, where we had, like, those TVs on a cart?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever those weird carts were. Like, all these churches would have one of those, too. And they would bust this in, and, like, it was one of the things, like, I think I remember being forced to watch it like several times, but I would get bored and I would zone out. And so it was kind of like, over so many times, I kind of saw the whole movie eventually. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know what their distribution channels were like, because I do not know how so many churches had a copy of this damn thing before VCRs.
This feels like a movie that was truly made as propaganda, where it's like church probably. A church or a congregation probably made it because nobody is in this or had anything to do with it. So chances are, what was a congregation or a church made it and just distributed it. Like they paid to get prints made and all that stuff, and then eventually it would be distributed to churches via VHS, and now it's on Tubi if you want to give it a listen, give it a watch. As are all three of the movies that we're talking about. In a matter of speaking,
is this show sponsored by Tubi?
Yeah,
Brian, are you getting a Tubi cut from this?
Unfortunately, no. But I'll give props to Tubi as many times as I want, because they're loaded with Mystery Science Theater and stuff. So
good. Yeah.
I will. They also have a whole lot of evangelical Christian movie crap. So
they do.
It's insane. And apparently this was a franchise. This was another movie where it's like there are 2 other movies in this franchise, at least. I'm like, what are we doing?
But I want to ask a personal question, Brian.
Okay.
Out of all these, and I know we're getting to the other ones later, I thought this one was the most effective.
I would agree with that. Okay.
Kind of.
I don't think it's the best made of the 3.
No, but
I will give you that. Yes, I do think, and so much of it comes down to that ending. So much of it comes down to the fact that ending is bleak as hell. It is an ending you are not supposed to feel good about when you get there. I will give you that. It's not the best made of the 3.
Yeah, no, not by any means.
But it's definitely the one that stayed with me the most of the 3 that we've watched.
It reminded this pinged with me, and I'm trying to look it up to see if I'm talking. Do you know, I believe it's a show. It's classic in the UK. It's called The Prisoner.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It reminds me of this. Like, I think they were copying parts of this. It has just that 70s feel where it's still like, we don't know what's going to happen here, and it's like a little ominous and weird how they would film stuff. The Prisoner is way better. So,
no doubt.
But
it's got Patrick McGowan in it. Who's
yes,
absolutely amazing.
But just those shots where they're showing her like running and being chased and all this other stuff. It felt very dystopian.
I need to search that series out at some point.
Yeah.
But Thief of the Night. I will give you that. It is the most effective of the 3. I can understand why it was used as nightmare fuel for kids, because it's. This is, and I was just blown away the fact that the one world government was this early. That's what surprised me. It's like, wow, I can't believe this is. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because of the fact that the 60s were pretty conspiratorial time with, the assassinations of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and JFK, and all of that stuff. We were still in the Cold War at this point. And it's one of those things where it's just really kind of breathtaking to see where faith-based cinema was at this time. And, it's funny. We talked about Life of Brian last time, and it's like, I wonder if there's a part of me that wonders if they watched this movie in preparation for writing Life of Brian, because of the fact that it's like, I can imagine Monty Python watching this and going, oh, this is messed up. This is messed up. We've got to make fun of this in some way, shape, or
The
form.
timeline makes sense. It does make sense. I mean,
it really does.
It does. I'm so curious, and I don't have context to offer here. I don't know how because this film wasn't distributed like in the cinemas and stuff like that.
Oh no,
this
I
is,
can't
this
imagine
is more like
that
this
was.
is more like underground / Christian grindhouse cinema.
Yeah.
Whatever that would mean, but
I mean, honestly, look at the 3 movies we're talking about today. I think we're looking at what Christian grindhouse cinema would be. Because all 3 of the, especially when we get to the 3rd one, that's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have a feeling it's one of those things where the congregation made it, distributed it, and it just kept finding its way into churches, into ministries, into teachings, and like I said, now it's on Tubi, along with a lot of other faith-based movies.
So someone's still making money off this grift.
Yeah, it's
that's very Christian.
Well, that's one of the things we talked about, too, in that initial conversation we had on Snarky Faith, the idea that this is, the Christian film industry is basically, it's basically more about making money than it is
100%.
the message. And it's like, now, they will say, oh, no, the message is what's important. It's like, no, making money is what's important. It's a movie. You're making money on it. But,
no, you're right. You're right, Brian. Because all this goes back to people's love of Jesus.
Yeah.
And this idea, and so cool. If you have a love of Jesus, so then you care about hope and redemption. But everything about these films that we're talking about today, it's all about control and fear.
Yeah.
Which is which fits with where they're at, in very nationalistic terms and everything else like that. But
So we're going to continue with a movie that I think it's funny because of the fact that, we talked about the Omega Code back in 2019, and that was really one of the first movies in this Christian cinema, in this Christian cinema landscape that we're kind of seeing still now, although it's changed drastically, and we'll talk about that when we get to the last movie. This was one of those early films, and it's funny because of the fact that, the Omega Code, for all its faults as cinema, it was a hit. It was a success. It was a successful movie. It showed that if you did the marketing right, you could make money with these movies. And, so the next year we got the first adaptation of Left Behind, based on the very famous End Times book series. And this is the one starring Kirk Cameron as the reporter. And it's funny because of the fact that this is my first time seeing this. We talked about it a bit in the Snarky Faith episode, where it's like, I had not seen this. But I had seen the Nicolas Cage one because I'm a Nicolas Cage fan, and I was curious. I'm like, what is this movie going to be? The fact of the matter is, it's like, so Kirk Cameron is by far the biggest name in this movie, and he starts off with in the Middle East. He's with this Israeli farmer the scientist who's basically come up with irrigation that could potentially, solve world hunger, or something like that. And all of a sudden you get planes that are in the sky, and you think, oh, wow, we're in the Middle East, but all of a sudden nothing's happening. Nothing's happening, and all of a sudden these planes are coming out from coming out of the sky, and it's like, well, nobody's firing. So it's like, what's going on? And it's funny because of the fact that, if you've ever watched the Nicolas Cage one, it feels, and this, I kind of feel like this has the same issues as this one, even though it's much more specified on the plane with the pilot and stuff like that Cage plays in the original, in that film. And so this one basically, it feels like the Rapture is going in waves, because clearly the reason some of these planes are falling out of the sky is because of the pilots being lifted up to heaven.
Yeah.
You know, even though they're in the Middle East, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but, you know, let's face it, none of these movies are meant to make any sense whatsoever. And we sort of get the one world government here as well, but it's this whole basic idea that there are going to be 10 leaders of 10 different segments of the earth, and the Antichrist in this movie is, where is he from? Belgium or Hungary?
Something like that, yeah.
You know, think like Viktor Orban, if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
Or Vladimir Putin, whichever authoritarian leader in that part of the world you want. But yeah, basically, so we basically start to see the rapture happen, and the pilot does come in. He and his daughter main part of this, and his wife and their son have been raptured because they're the wife is definitely a believer. The son, is it specified in the book whether they're a believer, or is it just because of the fact that the children are pure?
You're assuming that I've read the books because I have a seminary degree, and fuck you, Brian. I have not. No, when they came out, I thought they were cheesy as hell. And I was like, no. I was like, no, what is this? This is stupid. No. I don't know. Like, if you hadn't read the books, like, I know kind of like the end times thing that they've laid out, like, because I've been around Christianity enough, I kind of knew their logic of it. But when you watch it, none of this stuff makes any sense.
No,
like, if you had no idea watching it, you're going to be like, what the hell is happening in this? And, fun fact, did you notice Kirk Cameron's wife was a stewardess in this? If you remember back from your Growing Pains days, his wife on Growing Pains was also, like, he eventually married her, and so they're married. And one thing Kirk Cameron had an issue with once he became a Christian was that he didn't want to kiss other people on camera and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's a scene where the pilot dude is kissing the stewardess, but they cut it right before they touch lips.
Wow.
It's just because it's just some of their Cameron weirdness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did remember hearing something about that with Fireproof when that came out.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, that was, I remembered hearing something about that when that came out, because Cameron's in that as well, and he's world-class asshole in that movie. I mean, you know, not, he kind of is.
You're talking about real life or
well,
acting?
But
he's not acting, right? He's not acting ever.
No, it's very much,
asshole.
I mean, It's one of those things where it's like, boy, I barely remember Growing Pains, but it's like, I'm kind of over it, you know?
Yeah. So, Brian, was this your first Kirk Cameron movie?
No, I had seen.
Isn't the only one I can think of, isn't it like Father Like Son, Dudley Moore, maybe, or? I
don't remember. I had seen. I know I had seen Fireproof.
Yeah.
I know I had seen Fireproof. I don't even think I've even, out of pure, morbid curiosity, I don't think I've ever watched Surviving Christmas. We had that at the theater.
It's awful. It's awful. Sorry, I have. Don't watch it. It's not even a movie.
Yeah, I'm not planning on it, but it's like I can't remember whether I did, because I know we had it at the theater, and when I was working there, and it's like there was a part of me that was curious. So, and we would occasionally have to do walkthroughs into the movie, just make sure everything's going good. So it's like I would see images from it. It's like, what am I watching? Like, this is
try to cut it out.
Makes no sense. It's like, what is this? But
Brian, you're guarding your eyes, Brian. You're like, I don't want to watch this Christian porn. I don't want to watch this.
But no, I mean, it's. And that was the year, and that was also the year, like, 2014 was fascinating when it came to faith-based movies about faith, because you had Noah, you had Heaven is for Real, you had God's Not Dead, you had Surviving Christmas. You had a ton of stuff come out that year. It's like,
that's true.
What are we doing? Like, and that was kind of, and I mean, to a certain extent, that was kind of, I mean, our discussion was a few years later, but it was kind of the impetus of this idea of what is happening with faith-based movies now. And now this is, you know, and it's funny because the Nicolas Cage movie is primarily on the airplane. And the airplane sequence in this is like 5-10 minutes at most. It's hilarious. It's like, wow, I didn't expect that to be over as quick as it was.
It was fast.
But it's because of the fact that Cameron's character is the main character here. Nicolas Cage, he played the pilot.
Yeah.
So so that threw me off. But at the same time, it's like you're following Kirk Cameron, and it's wild because of the fact that he gets in, because of his celebrity, he gets in on the politics of this, and so he sees right at the outset just how evil the Antichrist character is, and it's like, okay, this is the way Middle East peace is found in here. It's like, okay, that kind of is weird and ridiculous. And I made a note of it, like early in the film, there's a phrase, the Arabs will cry for peace once they start dying. And it's like, yeah, this is, and it's like, this is, you know, the Nicolas Cage movie, I will say, you don't get the Islamophobia or anti-Semitism that you do in this one. Well, you get a little bit of the Islamophobia. There is one Muslim character on the plane, but it's not nearly as pronounced as it is in this one. But yeah, apparently the authors of the book were not happy with this. They felt like they were kind of cheated because of the fact that this kind of hit theaters in a very limited capacity before going essentially to video. And that's where they made all of their money. And then there were 2 other films. And, you know, he didn't feel like they were true to his vision. And so he did eventually get the rights back, and that's where the Nicolas Cage one came from. And then it's funny because of the fact that the Nicolas Cage one has a sequel to it that is directed and starring Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, totally makes sense.
That came out a decade later.
That works. Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah,
that whatever.
I didn't know that one existed. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we talked about QAnon earlier. I'm a fan of the QAA podcast, and they do movie nights, and they did a great one on the Nicolas Cage one, and they also did a great one on the Sorbo Left Behind too. It was pretty funny.
Oh, fun fact on Sorbo, I think he's actually in. We're not in a film we watched today, but he's in Revelation Road, Black Riders, the third in the series. He shows up in our next series.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, later on.
Well, yeah, of course.
Sorbo's just a horror. He'll do anything for money.
Well, yeah. So, well, I mean, you know, nobody will give him a chance outside of these movies, but you know, which is something he makes people remember every chance he gets. It's like, dude, you lost your cachet. You lost your cachet. Nobody wants you anymore. Xena was always cooler than Hercules anyway. I mean, you know, which is true. I mean, but
hey,
yeah.
You don't fuck with Lucy Lawless.
Yeah. But feel free to fuck with Kevin Sorbo.
Any day of the week.
Yep.
Yep.
He's on Twitter all the time, so, you know.
He's annoying.
But yeah, this is not a good movie. It's very.
It is not a good movie.
It's very pedestrian. It's so much melodrama. Like it is. Like it hits every beat times 100, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like this is as Christian porn a film as ever there's been a Christian porn film.
Yeah.
It's like it just hits you it hits you over the head with its message 10 times over.
And also because, you know, no one remembers the plot of a porn. No. I don't remember the plot of this movie. It doesn't really make sense.
No,
They just kind of shove us through the whole thing. You're just like, what's happening? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's I want to pick your brain, Brian, too, because this is around the same time. What I found, I was looking into this, is that Left Behind, they'd raise, depending on where you see the sources, anywhere between $15 and $20 million to make this film.
It does not come up on screen.
No, it does not.
It does not come up on screen. I'm guessing that's part of where the legal issues came through with the movie, because this movie, there's a lot bad in the Omega Code. The Omega Code actually looks like a movie. Yeah. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah, but think of this. This is 2000.
Yeah.
This is like the heyday of like when Sundance was cool, when Miramax was awesome. And I like one of your loves, my friend, Clerks. Clerks cost $27,000. We got the Blair Witch coming out for like under $100K. There's like, I remember Pi, Being John Malkovich, Rushmore, all these. This is like the heyday of independent cinema. And they would have loved $15 to $20 million. But this is awful. This is awful. This is like PowerPoint almost. Like movie.
It does not show up on screen at all. And that is mind blowing. And it's like,
or is this a grift? Was this a grift?
I mean,
somebody put that money somewhere. The CGI is so awful, even for the time.
Oh yeah, it's atrocious. It is atrocious. It sounds like the score was done completely on synthesizer in somebody's basement on like a weekend.
Yeah,
and it's like, what is going on here? I mean, this is just like, how is this? And all of the performances are terrible. Like, there's not a good performance in this whatsoever. And everything is so telegraphed. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the thing I will give A Thief in the Night is that I think it gets, and this is where I kind of said that, did Left Behind rip this off? Because of the fact that I think that it's the same basic bones. Mm-hmm. Both of these movies have the same basic bones in the story, but I think A Thief in the Night is much more interesting in how they put it together. Even though it's not a good movie either, it's interesting in how it puts those pieces together and gets to the points that it's trying to get to.
Yeah. Well, that's even Kirk Cameron, like his whole character, which feels like a conservative fever dream, because Kirk Cameron is Buck Williams. He's a journalist, a well-respected journalist, kind of a thing. But he's also the idiot that runs around asking questions. Like, he's the guy that doesn't understand anything. Yeah. And he has to ask questions of everybody. So he's a plot device to just constantly get preached at. Mm-hmm. He's like an idiot journalist. He's like, oh, what's happening here? Oh, please preach at me right now.
Well, and the thing is, he's also an idiot who goes out during this attack at the beginning and essentially does a selfie report like he's live streaming the event, like he's a January 6th protester.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, this is absurd. This is so insane.
Bad. Yeah.
Like, I just don't even know what to think about this movie, except, I'm glad I've got my one viewing of it out of the way, so I never have to watch it again.
Bucket list done. And no, the thing about this, and this is why I get so cynical about this stuff, because I used to be a person that took religion a lot more seriously until I figured out the people that were taking religion seriously don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
This whole thing it's just that this idea that people that preach love and a theology of anything about love and care of the poor or the marginalized or anyone that like should be about like what I would believe that Christ would preach about.
Yeah.
All these films it's basically God is just kind of, he removes the faithful, they get a pass, and then breaks the world on purpose. Like, if you really think about the logical conclusions of this, God is a tremendous dick.
Yeah.
In all of these. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, we talked about Dogma years ago where it's like, look at the interpretation of God that Kevin Smith puts on screen there.
I want Atlantis God.
It's like, same. I mean, because of the fact that she feels like a very benevolent God, a very caring God, somebody that actually cares about humanity and doesn't want to see it destroyed. That's just not the God that, like, I don't blame people who, were in the church for years upon years upon years who all of a sudden go, wait a minute, this I don't like this. What is going on with this? This doesn't work. And and they leave because of the fact that it's like, this message is not hopeful. This message is not caring of others. And it's like, why should I take this message seriously? It's like,
why indeed?
Yeah. And
yes.
And the fact of the matter is, it's like, look, the truth is, part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode, was because your book was coming out, and it would be perfect segue to your book. But also, this was going to be a lot of fun. Because, I knew the Left Behind movie was going to be cheesy as hell.
Yeah, and it was.
And it was. A Thief in the Night was really a surprise to me, and in the best and worst ways of discovering movies. It's like, I don't think I've been this traumatized by watching a movie for a podcast since I watched Don Bluth's Rockadoodle for Binge Movies a number of years ago. But that being said, we are going to get to our last film. And it's funny because of the fact that you already pointed that this is the beginning of another trilogy of Rapture films. And it's funny because of the fact that all of these, what is it about the I mean, okay, I understand. I'm not going to ask what it is about the Rapture that justifies movie franchises, because it's the same thing as any big franchise in Hollywood. Why is that justify a franchise? It's because it's going to, you can do long-form storytelling. You can come up with different ideas for how to tell a story. And, it's funny because of the fact that I will give this last film this. It's at least a different... it's the most stylized film of the bunch. It's actually an interesting movie to look at. It doesn't mean it's well made. It just means it's interesting to look at. And it almost feels like if modern day Mel Gibson were to do a Mad Max film, you would come up with 2013's Revelation Road, the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
The difference is Mel Gibson, for all of his awful politics and personal views, is a good actor. And the lead in this movie, David A.R. White, is very much not a good actor.
Yep.
He is one of the founders. I did not realize until I was starting to look up. He is one of the founders of PureFlix.
That makes so much sense now.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes, Brian. Thank you.
And it does make so much sense.
sense.
And the thing is, it's like I messaged you this a couple of days ago, and it's interesting because of the fact that, I remember PureFlix in the mid 2010s was all over the place. They were releasing 4 or 5 movies a year, it felt like, and they had to be making some sort of money. But now you barely hear about them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of it is because of the fact that they gravitated more towards streaming, which everybody did during the pandemic. And now it's funny because Angel Studios, who released Sound of Freedom, and this winter actually released an animated version of the story of David that has actually done fairly successfully in theaters, has kind of taken that mantle of theatrical, faith-based movies. But if you look at the thing is that I feel like, before we get to Revelation Road, just a bit of a tangent here. So I feel like if you look at the filmography of Angel Studios, I mean, there's very sus ways in which they handle their ticketing, which kind of leads to kind of the grift. But they also put out, they're harder to pin down in terms of the type of movies that they're putting out compared to, PureFlix, you could kind of figure out what type of movies they were going to be coming out with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they have very specific formula. And Angel, I think, has been, to their credit, a bit more diversified in terms of how they've approached releasing films.
I think the difference is grievance. I think one of them is very hard on grievance, and the other one is kind of like, which way will the money wind blow us?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a situation like that. It's not conviction; it's money.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, yeah, you're right. I think Pure Flix, like they like doubled down on a lot of the stuff that they were going towards, just trying to. Which grievance, does that not sound like modern day MAGA? Like just giving people grievance theater?
Oh, yeah.
Like this is the same systems.
Yeah.
And even you talked about, and you probably know this better than I do, but even those systems of how a lot of these companies would do ticket sales was super sus. To where it was either like pay it forward systems, or they would have people in churches like do stuff, and it was not like normal.
No.
But I think you know more. Yeah.
No, I mean, and the fact of the matter is, it's like I remember when movies like God's Not Dead and stuff like that came out, and yeah, you would occasionally get big blocks of churches who were buying tickets for those movies. And, the pay it forward type of ticketing, that's more Angel's philosophy. They started with Sounds of Freedom. It's basically something that they came up with. And it's funny because of the fact that one of the things, when QAA discussed Sound of Freedom, one of the things I found out about Angel Studios is that those are the same people behind a company in Utah that used to do censored versions of Hollywood movies and release them. And obviously they got away with, they had to stop doing that for obvious reasons. But those were the same people behind Angel Studios. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, what year are we talking? Oh my God, that's funny. This is back when I'm in more of my church days. I'm a youth pastor of a large church on the West Coast, and I remember a service, and it did not work well. This did not end up well. But it was a service where you could they would send you it was so stupid. You would have like a DVD player, and you could put codes into it. Like via some sort of it was like a thumb drive or something.
Yeah.
And so what that would supposedly do, you could play normal secular movies, but it would edit out in real time, supposedly cut out this, do its own editing, hop scenes and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed Zoolander to a bunch of middle schoolers, and I should not have done Zoolander to a bunch of middle schoolers. And their service did not work. It did not work. It did not work right. It did not work right. That's a true story. And I got in trouble for that.
God.
I got in a lot of trouble for that. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Revelation Road, first of all, it begins with the big evangelical narration energy in this movie, basically setting the stage for what we're about to see.
Yeah.
And we start with bikers beating up a cop. And bikers led by Brian freaking Bosworth, the Boz.
The Boz. Yeah.
How he had, it's funny because I think deep down I kind of knew that he had a longer film career than just Stone Cold, but it's I don't remember, after that flopped and he was out of the NFL, I did not remember him at all.
I had to do the same lookup. I was like, I know it's the Boz, but then I was like, did he play? And then it was, I think it was in two different things. It was with experts, I think he was, in the past 25 years, the sixth worst flop in the NFL. And for fans, he was the third worst flop in the past 25 years. But but I remember him from TV and other stuff. I don't remember him from football as much. I just remember the bad haircut back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oof, the Boz, yeah.
So they're a group of bikers.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, David A.R. White, he plays a traveling salesman in 2013, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Is this still a thing that happens in this day? I mean, I know there's...
Brian, what is he selling? What is he selling? Do you remember what he's selling?
This is true. Yes, you're right. He is selling bulletproof vests. So this is
door to door.
You
Door to
asked,
door.
I remember. Okay, so I just re-listened to our snarky faith discussion, and you asked about the Christian gun movie, the big pro-gun Christian movie. I think we found it.
Well, maybe this
I think
is
we
it.
found
Yeah.
it with this, because so he is selling these. He is selling these bulletproof. He's trying to sell Ray Wise's character. Poor Ray Wise. I mean, you know, he was a terrible parent on Twin Peaks, but and he's typically a sleazy guy.
Yes!
But it's funny because of the fact that he's basically a good guy in this movie,
He's
which is
the
mind-blowing.
sleaziest good guy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, Brian. I was like, him?
But so yeah, he's selling him to this guy who's is he a convenience store clerk?
He owns
Is it
a
regular-
shop
he
or
owns
like
a
a
shop, but
yeah,
that-
it's
not
vague.
exclusively a gun shop though.
No, who knows? In small towns, they sell all sorts of stuff in their convenience stores. Maybe who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't even know what Ray Wise is into.
Yeah, but
Gosh.
nothing but love for Ray Wise. He's a terrific actor.
He is.
He's great. He's so much better in these movies.
Yeah.
A movie like this. So David A.R. White's character is selling him on this when the bikers show up, and it seems like it seems like this is one of their regular haunts to like rob this convenience store or try to rob this convenience store. I don't really get it, but David A.R. White's character basically stops them. Like he goes all John Wick on them.
He does.
And this is where the style of this movie really, like, there's some stylish filmmaking in this movie. It's like, okay, I'll give you points for originality in how you're shooting this movie. I mean, it's basically ripped off of dozens of other action movies, but it's like, at least they're trying to do the John Woo thing, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy trying to redeem himself from a life, we'd never really find out the life they lived before his, wife and daughter and wife and child and stuff like that. But basically, he saves the Ray Wise's life and Ray Wise's daughter.
It's his granddaughter. Which still doesn't make sense.
Is in there, and is in there as well. And so they welcome him, White's character, into their home, but he for dinner and stuff like that. And Bosworth is the leader of this biker gang, and it's like he just can't stand the injustice of they weren't able to rob this store owner. It's like this will not stop. Really low stakes for a bike club. I mean, it's like I've seen Sons of Anarchy. What are we doing here?
He's no Jax.
No, he's not. And so, but really, so basically, it's
Did
funny.
this movie inspire Sons of Anarchy? Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Well, I mean, Sons of Anarchy was already. I wonder if that's
Wait,
where.
what year is this? Yeah, sorry.
Sons of Anarchy was already going, so I wonder if
Okay.
that's where they got the idea for the bike riders in this movie. It's like, but it's also very Mad Max-esque because it feels very post-apocalyptic, George Miller, in
But
the
it's before the
Australian
apocalypse, isn't it? That's the stupid thing. Like the big twist.
yeah.
I'm not trying to ruin the way you're telling it, but
But
it's
no,
like
you're
it's
right.
post-apocalyptic before it's
No, you're
post-apocalyptic.
right. Well, and the thing is, it's like if you've ever watched the original Mad Max, it feels like that's before the apocalypse as well.
Oh, true.
It's then when Road
Fair.
Warrior is when you get into true post-apocalyptic nonsense.
Okay.
And then obviously, you get Fury Road and Beyond the Thunderdome, Furiosa, all of that stuff. But basically, what happens is the bikers they try to, and this is thankfully all of these movies are relatively short.
Yes.
Like Left Behind was under 2 hours. This is barely 90, and it was 69 minutes for Thief in the Night. So thankfully, these were all short movies. And so they go to Ray Wise's house and are going to kill his family, kill him and his family. Seriously, I don't understand their fixation on him. It makes no sense whatsoever. But basically, and David A.R. White's character, Josh is his name. And it's funny because of the fact that it's like, when one of the things I wrote down was Josh literally feels like an instrument of God in this movie. Like he's designed that way. It's like, okay, that's something. And he's on the phone with his wife. He's really he's going through a crisis of faith, I guess. And this is when the rapture happens. And it starts with this big white light, and Ray Wise and his wife are just in awe of this. The bikers are like, what is going on here? And their granddaughter's off to the side hiding. And all of a sudden people at the hotel, they're getting out, and then you see some of them have been taken and all of this stuff. And, it's obvious that Josh's wife has been taken, while he's on the phone with them. And it's funny. You've got the hotel clerk who is like, no, you guys cannot leave without paying. You guys cannot leave without paying. And it's like, really, dude? Seriously. This is unprecedented offense, I think. And it's funny. So the granddaughter gets away. She's hidden by somebody on the side of the road with his own little fire. Looks like a homeless guy. And he protects her. Like, they can't see her. It's like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then her and Josh, team up, and that will lead us into the inevitable sequel, which came out a year later.
Yeah.
I think this is the best made movie of the trilogy. It's still not a good movie because the story makes no damn sense whatsoever.
It does not.
But at least it feels like it had a budget that was put to good use.
Yeah,
the visual effects are at least interesting. The cinematography is at least interesting.
It is. But it felt like whoever had the they went hard on whatever plug-in was like for like the light flicker.
Yeah.
Like every time they went hard on that one the whole way through. Like they were putting whatever like system they were rendering a lot of shit with this.
Yeah.
I know they're doing it for that, but this whole. It's a mess. It's a mess. Like you love like the Ray Wise moment where he's like they're about to kill him. This feels like Negan and like Glenn.
Yeah.
Where they're dragging the thing across the ground. They're like, "You're gonna die, bitch!" And then it's like, and light.
Yes.
Light. That light is Jesus. Light is everything. That's the best special effect of just light, and everyone's like, oh. Yeah, let's just blow out the exposure on these shots. Yay! That's Jesus' power.
This movie is nonsense. But it's entertaining nonsense.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's where I will say. I mean, none of these movies are good, but this one's at least entertaining in how not good it is.
Yeah.
Because you can tell there was actually thought into. At least, if not the story, at least the way the story would look.
Yeah. like
I will give them points for that. I mean, this filmmaker's far from George Miller, but the fact of the matter is, it's like it's you're not expecting George Miller type filmmaking from this genre either. And I mean, as we can clearly see by the two films we talked about before this, and this is another one that has multiple movies. You already mentioned Kevin Sorbo's in the third one.
He's in the third one. You got to wait, folks.
Yeah, but
did you not love? Wait, I'm going to ask the hotel fight scene.
That was hilarious.
But I love the special effects. I felt like I was watching like an old like Japanese like kung fu like.
Yeah.
It was the choreography was fantastic, and the sound effects were even better. I was like, what is happening? Just end this scene faster. We don't need more fights of ow.
Yeah, exactly. No, this movie was nonsense, but at least it was fun. Like it was. I'm glad I ended with this one because of the fact that it's like this one at least like I felt like by the time I was done with this, the stench of because the first one I had seen was Left Behind, and I felt like by that point by this point the stench of Left Behind was Left Behind. But
woo!
Hey, see what I did there? No, this you gotta love so I feel like what we're getting at here is Rapture cinema is basically like faith-based disaster movies. Mm-hmm. Like it's like if you made Armageddon or Deep Impact or any of those type of movies
with Jesus.
Yeah. That's basically what you're looking at. Like this is basic Revelation Road is basically Christian Mad Max.
Yes. So, Brian, question. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It made me think of this when we were talking about this, and because Stranger Things just ended recently, and I had issues with the idea that, like, in so many of these films or in things like this, where it's like the power leveling of your main characters, like it's just they wildly vacillate. So let's ask this question: in these cinemas, I think Jesus' power ratings move around.
He's
11. He's any of this. He's any kind of like thing like this. But I feel like you don't know because in some of this one, like Revelation Road, half of it is like Jesus doing ASMR to people, like Derek, and then the guy will be like, oh, and then he just like somehow like orgasms and implodes into light and moves off the planet, and then his wife is left going, whoa, what? Derek, why are you calling out to this other man? Which is a lot of issues within Christian cinema is, they're people being closeted males that call out to other men and beards, etc.
Oh yeah.
That's very much within Christianity.
Yeah.
Repression,
obviously.
all of this.
No, obviously.
Sorry. We went too far off on this one. But yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is just goofy.
It's bonkers. Yeah.
It's bonkers. But I mean, this is why I wanted to have this discussion because and it's funny because of the fact that we're months off from people thinking the rapture was happening in real life.
Yes.
And it's like, seriously, you really thought that? I mean, what? I mean, the thing is, it's like, so I kind of want to end with this big but also kind of fun question. It's like, what do you think if an actual rapture occurred in real life? Do you think it would be anything remotely as silly as what we've seen in these movies?
Okay. So, yes, I have a book on what it would be like if the rapture happened in real life, but this is mainly like it's dunking on a lot of Christian culture and everything else in it. So, but if there were to be an actual one, so if you're asking me for a person that has been through seminary, who's been ordained, and then defrocked as well, and been through the whole like in it, I've done the whole human centipede of Christianity. If this is their let's pretend their fever dream and run it to the logical conclusions.
Yeah.
I think it would be hilarious because if there was a rapture, it would not be the people that think they were being raptured.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like all these Christians being like, what the hell? Why are we all around? Where'd everybody else go? Like everyone else is like busy acting like decent humans, and you guys are running around like a bunch of like just degenerate assholes that treat the world like shit. Because that's the biggest issue with this whole thing.
Yeah.
The rapture is bullshit because this main one idea, all it teaches people is escapism.
Yeah.
Is that somehow if we can leave this plane, we will be better off.
Yeah.
Now, if you get to, and I'm not getting deep into this, but theology, the idea is somehow like God made the earth, creation, everything else, and that's good.
Right.
So the idea that we're just going to burn this motherfucker down, that seems antithetical to anything. And but again, don't hold people for having consistent theology because Yeah, most don't.
No.
They don't like to play logical conclusions and think about where their faith goes. But yes, all of this is nonsense. It is idiotic, and it's a way for Christians to essentially make hell on earth for those that live around them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So we're living in the end times because it's hell because the Christians are making the life hell right now. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Christian nationalism. But
yeah. Well, and yeah, it's just like, I mean, if you are like, here's one of my biggest issues with it. I mean, apart from the fact that it's bullshit, it's fiction, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if you are truly thinking that you are going to be one of the ones that, if Christ were to actually come back,
yep,
and rapture all of the faithful up, why are you so certain that you think that you would be if you don't care if the earth just gets blown into a cinder, or people die for no reason other than the fact that they're not your
existing.
faith?
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you think you're so certain about this? And that is, I mean, and that's one of the things that this gets to, this absurdity gets to in general. And it's like, I understand if you think that away from the earth and heaven, whatever your conception of heaven is a better place in terms of, well, you don't have to suffer anymore. You don't have to suffer the issues that humanity has to deal with. But shouldn't you at least try and make your time on earth as beneficial to others as possible?
They read this as, I want to make my time on earth as beneficial to me as possible.
Oh no, of course.
Which is
no, of course.
Thing. Yes, because it's all so insane and so nihilistic. If you if you think of these people as like if you believe all of this stuff, it gives you license to be an asshole and a dick to everybody that doesn't believe and think like you.
Yeah.
And that's really what these movies are doing. It's giving people a license to be assholes to other people. For Jesus.
Yeah. And like we mentioned, all three of these are available on Tubi, as is all of their sequels, I believe, if you want to try your luck with those. The book is The Tribulation Survival Guide, How to Stay Alive When Everything Else is Dead. Great subtitle, by the way. That is perfect. Where can people go to pick it up, Stuart?
So on the 13th, which will hopefully be out in the next couple days, you go to Amazon, look at the Tribulation Survival Guide, and there's another one on there from years ago, but look one for Stuart Delony, or you can even look up snarkyfaith.com, and that shows you where I podcast, it shows you where I have a column and write, and all the other jazz. Yep.
Yeah, and he actually did publish a piece, sort of like what we were talking about here near the end, inspired by Stranger Things, the finale.
Yep.
And this whole discussion of, leveling up in end times at the end of the world and all of that stuff. And Stuart, as always, is so fun to talk to you, and I can't wait until the next time.
Me too, Brian. I always love this. We have so much fun.
Yeah. And I mean, this, and the thing is, it's like the last couple of times we've talked on here have been a little bit more serious, like we talked about Terrence Malick films a few years ago, which was a great conversation, but was very heavy. And then, talking about the idea of faith and power, and in political power, in the fascism in cinema episode. It was great to get to 3 movies that were just fun, and how goofy they are and how absurd they are. Yeah. And Stuart, first of all, before we let you go, where can people find you?
Easiest way, because I think most people misspell my first name and my last name, so just look up Snarky Faith. That is a very easy way to look at this. And Brian, I have a question for you. And
yes.
You can tell me if you're going to answer this now on the air or off the air, if I'm going to ruin a future episode. If we're talking this new year, do you have a favorite film from last year? Or
I do.
Some sort of a list.
I do, actually. You can see it on sonic-cinema.com. It's my retrospective one that I release on New Year's Eve. Always do it. My 25 favorite films of last year. And my favorite film last year was Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
Love it.
Yep.
That was a good one.
Great movie. And yeah, there were some fantastic movies that came out last year. And it's like, it was, it's funny because of the fact that it was one of those years where it's like, it's been okay. But I mean, also I hadn't caught up with a lot. It was hard for me to catch up last year because I had so much going on in personal life, with work, with the podcast and all that stuff. But by the time the end of the year, it's like, it was such a great, rich year. And I mentioned it earlier, the Testament of Ann Lee. My review will be up in Sonic Cinema in a couple of days. Is a fantastic movie with Amanda Seyfried. It's a fascinating film. Check it out. Also check out Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, which I think which is another movie that has spiritual undertones in it in a very interesting way in how it approaches that story. So that was another one that I just absolutely loved this year. But yeah, Sinners was fantastic. It was far and away my favorite. And Stuart, as always, is a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it's always fun, Brian. We'll do this again.
Absolutely, we will. I'd like to thank Stuart for joining me once again. That was a lot of fun to have that discussion with him. That is going to be it for the Sonic Cinema podcast for this episode. What way to start out 2026. And I hope you continue on with us in the new year. It's going to be a fascinating year. I've got a lot of great discussions coming up. And join us again wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's patreon.com/Sonic Cinema, whether it's the YouTube channel, Spotify, Good Pods, Amazon, wherever. Or, of course, there's always www.sonic-cinema.com. Thank you very much.